Hi everyone. I would like to share a project with you that I call Wonderful Words. So what you'll need is a piece of paper, a box of crayons. Make sure you've got your black ready to go. And then you can either use watercolors or markers later on. We want to make two diagonal lines from the long edge of our paper to the other long edge of our paper. So I drew a diagonal line across the paper from one long side to the other. And I'm going to do the same thing again, but I'll make this diagonal line a little bit different. Okay? So you need to choose 3 words. They could describe you, or they could be things you like, or they could be things that you like to do. I recommend that you make sure you know how to spell these words before you start. So I have my 3 words, and I'm going to write them, but I'm actually up here, and this is away from me. So I'm going to go ahead and write my words. It'll look upside down to you. So I'm going to write my first word, and I'm going to fit it in the space that I've made. I want my letters to touch the top and bottom of the space, and looks like I'm going to need to make my letters a little smaller because I didn't save enough room for myself. And I know you're looking at this upside down, but I'll turn the paper around soon. And another word that I want to use is imagine. That's a favorite word of mine. But remember, I'm fitting my letters in between the diagonal lines that I wrote. I'm gonna have to start. Actually, I'm gonna put the G up here and the I down there because I'm running out of space. And my big N. Ooh, I'm gonna have to squeeze in the E somewhere here. Okay. And then my last word is inspire. Okay, so let me show you. So you can see my words inspire, imagine with the G and I kind of stacked, and create with the E tucked in there because I didn't space super well to begin with. And now I'm going to thicken up my letters a bit. So I'm kind of drawing another line next to my letter and then filling in, making it thicker. Okay, so now I have a lot of my space is filled with letters, but I also have space in between my letters. And what I would like to do now is to start adding patterns. So I am going to just take each of these spaces as its own shape, and I'm going to fill it up with patterns. There are lots of different types of patterns. Patterns can be in order, like red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. And patterns can also be random, like this one is random because I have all these circles, but they're not lined up in order. This is an example of an ordered pattern because my lines are in order. So let's say I have this space here inside the N. I'm going to make a triangle in there because that's the shape that that N is making. And if I make it a little bit smaller and then a little bit smaller, this is called a growing pattern because even though I went from big to little, you see a small triangle and it gets bigger and bigger. So that's called a growing pattern. So I'm going to continue filling up my whole paper with patterns in between my letters and all the spaces that I have. And again, I'm not going to make you watch while I do this because that will take a long time and you need time to work on your own. Okay, you do not have to color everything in, but you should make some kind of a pattern or repeated line in all the spaces between your letters. Okay, now the black tends to smudge, so just be aware of that. One more thing, I would like for you to make your patterns out of lines and shapes. We're not trying to fill it all up with crayon, like color everything in, because later we're going to go over all of this either with our paints or our markers. Okay, so we are trying to let some of the white still show. Okay, keep that in mind. So I finished filling all of my spaces with a pattern of some kind, and so hopefully you practice the different types of patterns on yours. Okay, and now that we've got it filled up, we're ready to fill the rest of the paper with color, either with watercolor paints or with markers, whatever kind of markers you have. Either the paints or the markers will go right over the crayon and still allow the crayon to show. Okay, it's a process called wax resist, in which the wax that the crayon is made of pushes the water or the wetness from the paint or the marker away. I'm actually going to show you with marker because this is something you may not have tried before. I have a purple marker here. I have no idea how dark it's going to be, but I'm going to go ahead and use it in this space with the yellow, because yellow and purple go together interestingly. They're complementary colors. So I went over the marker with the purple, over the crayon with the purple marker, but see how the yellow, even though it looks not as bright as it did before, it still shows up really nicely. You're going to use either your paints or your markers and now fill in all of these spaces that you just added patterns to with your crayons. Okay, and enjoy that wax resist. Look for the battle between the crayon and the marker or the paint, whichever one you use. And watch how the crayon kind of stands up for itself and says, I'm already here. And here is my finished piece. When I hold it a little bit closer, you should be able to see crayon and either marker or paint in each of those sections. So now you have created something that tells a little bit about you, things you like to do, or words that describe you. And you have created patterns, and you have used wax resist. So you've gotten to do a little science here today, and of course, art. And remember, when you're all finished, the last thing that artists have to do before they finish up is to clean up. So just remember to put your materials away, okay? And then you can hang up your art someplace or share it with somebody and enjoy it together. Have a great day.